once again to Profiles. I'm Richard Fredrickson. Today's a special show, a special program, one of which I'd like to invite you to not only continue watching us, but to share this with your neighbors, your friends, and your relatives. Let them know that on Channel 6 here in Joliet, it's on, and it is also on YouTube, and that's probably a way for your relatives outside of Joliet, your friends, to watch, listen, and learn. Today's program is, well, I'm entitling it, if I can, Mitchell's Story, shared by his mother, Mary Jo Claffy.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
All right. Mary Jo, you and your husband, Milt, and your two sons, Mitchell and Evan, moved into Joliet how many years ago?
About 27 years ago, yeah.
Okay, wow, okay. So then you're really a Jolietan.
Yes.
You know. If you were moving into Plainfield, you'll never become a Plainfieldite until you're there 50 years. So well, now to Mitchell's story. As I'm going to visualize this as a kind of a house. Right now we're on the porch or the patio. We're not inside yet, because I want to learn a little bit about this woman, Mary Jo, because it has a lot to do with, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. You have been a strong advocate against domestic violence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is, why?
Because my son Mitchell was a victim of domestic violence, and he never had gotten the courage to leave that toxic relationship. And I know that there are so many other people out there that are in those types of relationships, that by hearing Mitchell's story, maybe it will spark something or get the wheels turning that that's not healthy, and there are so many resources for them to get out.
We're going to learn more about your son. I guess I want to ask this question of you, Mary Jo. Prior to Mitchell's death, were you an advocate at that time?
I was
Were you
not.
aware of any of these things?
I was aware of domestic violence, more so physical, between a man and a woman.
Yeah.
But with this, it has opened my eyes significantly.
Yeah. It has mine as well. Because when you think about domestic violence, you think about husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend,
Right.
that kind of thing going on, and that's predominantly through the years. You see that in the newspapers, you see it on television, you hear it on the radio, top of the hour news kind of thing. But what we're talking about here, although it's not rare, it's rarely spoken of
Yes.
or heard, and so we're going to take that opportunity now. When you say you are an advocate against domestic violence, you have stepped up that advocacy in other areas as well. What are they?
Well, I share Mitchell's story a lot in the LGBTQ plus communities, as well as other communities in Geneva and Galena, and sharing his story to bring awareness.
Right. So, believe it or not, and that's, you know, so often I've heard these types of interviews, and they rattle off, you know, LGBTQ plus. Half the people out there don't know what you're talking about. So take those letters and share them.
Of course, you're going to quiz me on that, and that is, I'm going to slaughter, because lesbian, gay, binary, transgender, I believe Q is queer.
Is that the plus?
Plus. Plus is then everybody else in between not mentioned.
Okay. Now I just went forward here, and my camera guy is saying, sit back. You mentioned this earlier. Domestic violence is not just physical violence between a man and a woman.
Right.
What is a little more in-depth definition of domestic violence?
Well, it's, as you mentioned, most people think that it's physical between a man and a woman. And it's between any two people, no matter the age, race, or gender. And it's any type of abuse, physical, emotional, psychological.
Yeah. That's the other area that few people understand or comprehend, is the fact that this can be emotional and psychological and not physical.
Right. And in Mitchell's case, there was no physical evidence of abuse prior to that dreadful morning.
Prior to that.
Correct.
So, kind of, I don't know if this is challenging or difficult for you, but share us what happened just prior, what happened at the time, and we'll talk about after. What happened with Mitchell?
Well, Mitchell started seeing Mark, his partner, and let me explain that Mitchell was a twink and Mark was a bear. A twink meaning a thinner gay man, younger gay man, and Mark a bear, kind of like a burly hair, older gentleman. And so that was Mitchell's type of gentleman of choice, and we were accepting of that, and that was fine as long as the relationship, they treated each other well. And so Mitchell started dating Mark, and everything seemed to be going well, and Mitchell would come by and visit often, and all of that. And what's interesting is you don't necessarily know what goes inside a home until it gets to be out of control and it starts getting shared. Every time we had seen Mark, we thought he was nice and the relationship was going well, but the turmoil that Mark regularly put him through inside the home, we didn't see.
What was that?
Well, Mark would build Mitchell up and then tear him down. He would belittle him, take away his identity, think that nobody loved him as much as, nobody loved Mitchell as much as Mark did. And they had two cats, Jessie and Mira, and he would torment Mitchell with the cats, saying that, the cats were ill or what have you, and they would be fine, because Mitchell loved those kitties like they were his own children.
When did you become aware of Mitchell's sexual preference?
Oh gosh, I knew Mitchell was gay for years, but he had come out when he was about 19, 20 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was a very lucky and blessed son to have parents who were accepting
Yes.
of that.
Yeah.
How old is Mitchell at upon his death?
31.
He's 31. That's a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have any other relationships with any other men before
He did.
Mark?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
He had a few other relationships.
So this was the most serious of all his relationships?
Yes.
So he's 31, so they got together when they were in their late 20s, or?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Mark was in his late 30s, early 40s.
Interesting. So how did he die?
From what I understand, they had been arguing. They were living in Tennessee at the time. And they had been arguing for a few days, and Mark was breaking things in the apartment. And Mitchell had said that it was over and he wanted to leave, and Mark would not let him, and he stabbed him multiple times.
Where is Mark today?
He is currently incarcerated in a jail in Tennessee. He received 20 years with no eligibility of parole.
Let me go back to your involvement with all those organizations, because you rattled them off, and I want to spend a little more time with that. So you're involved in organizations both locally here in Joliet, Illinois, and throughout the state of Illinois. Let's talk first about who are you involved with and how are you participating with a renowned service here in Joliet, Guardian Angel Community Services. Tell me
Yes.
about that.
Well, when I had initially shared Mitchell's story with Joliet Pride Network, um, they were so kind to have someone from Guardian Angel be there for support for those that were listening to the story as well as for myself. And that's when I just started doing a lot of communication with Guardian Angel. And, you know, what's wonderful is now that's also given me an opportunity that when I share my story when Guardian Angel isn't nearby, that I can offer those resources to those that inquire.
Yeah. How did you connect with the Pride Network?
Mitchell had always, one of the things that Mitchell and I always wanted to do was go to Joliet Pride Fest and go to all of those functions with, you know, Pride, whether it's Chicago Pride or Joliet Pride, and we were never able to do that together. And after he passed, I said, no, I'm doing it. And also when he passed away, we had donations to Joliet Pride Network as well as Will County Animal Shelter.
Yeah. I think this year's Pride Fest for Joliet was down there at Billy Leemacher's Bicentennial Park,
Yes.
correct? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes, and I was able, I was fortunate that they let me have a table there, so I was able to display Mitchell's picture and have some information as an advocate towards for domestic violence.
How was the response?
Oh, it was amazing. I just love it, and you know, there's so many people that are no longer victims. They found that inner strength to get out of that toxic relationship, and I just love that because I let them know, no, I don't know them, but I'm so proud, and their family must be so proud to have gotten that courage, and they're so strong to do that. I can only imagine the strength that they had to muster up to leave that relationship.
Yeah. So is this organization, I think it's called, I may be incorrect in this, called Outspoken?
Yes.
With the capital O-U-T and then spoken?
Yes.
What is that?
That is another community that shares stories. They're not necessarily domestic violence, but all types of stories of those that are in the LGBTQ plus communities and personal stories that people share. And so I've done that in Joliet and Naperville and also in Chicago.
Yeah. So when you go to Naperville or Chicago, what is the venue? Is it a theater? Is it a club? Is it a what?
Well, let's see. A few times it's been in a church. It's been in a bar at Skeleton Key Brewery, and then at Sidetrack in Chicago.
So that's the storytelling aspect? Is that
Yes.
what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Joliet Pride Network is your first contact with those people.
Yes.
Have you developed friendships and associations and relationships with all of these organizations now?
I have, and it's just, they're so welcoming, and it makes it so easy, and I'm blessed that they've accepted me for sharing.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you're an independent woman, so I feel okay to ask you this, which may be a different perspective, and I don't need you to name names, but first, your family.
Yes.
Aunts, uncles, cousins, twice removed, whatever. Their, first of all, realization about Mitchell, and then their feelings about this whole thing that you have now begun, almost a new career for you.
Yes. Yes.
What's the reaction been?
I have so much support. A lot of the family members, including my husband and my other son, Evan, it's difficult for them to hear the story. And part of it is therapy for me. I feel closer to Mitchell sharing it. But everyone is actually very proud of me for doing it.
Good. And you're proud of yourself.
I
You should
am.
be.
I
You
should
be.
be.
You should be.
I should be.
Yeah. Uh, well, you mentioned Milt and your other son and how they're handling it. Now, I know for a fact that whether it's suicide, whether it's murder, car accident, however, when you lose a child, 31 or younger, the mother, the father grieve.
Yes.
And every individual grieves differently.
Yes, they do.
You know, the worst thing you can hear at a wake or a funeral is, Mary Jo, I know how you feel.
Right.
They haven't got a clue. Because everyone, depending on who they are, what they are, what's going on. How did you handle that? How did you handle that grief? At the same time, probably some anger in there. And because I'm going to ask you your mission in just a minute here. But how did you handle that? What went on? What was the process? Because you're here today, your delightful personality, which I'm sure is not always there,
Yeah.
but it is right now. And we're grateful for that.
Thank you. Shock and disbelief. More so because Mitchell was out of state, and he was out of state for about 4.5 months. I'm still waiting for him to come home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know he won't.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I hear that from a lot of victims. I almost call you a victim because you are. That at least psychologically you thought, well, he was gone for 4 months. It's a long time.
Yeah.
And then, well, he'll be, but obviously he
Right.
will not.
Right.
But now that leads me into your mission. I almost call it Mitchell's mission, but it's your mission. What do you plan to do? What are you doing now, and what do you plan to do for the future?
I don't have any plans. I think it's whatever God wants me to do, and I continue to share his story with meeting so many amazing people by word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I will share it to as many people that will listen, whether it's one-on-one, whether at this point I've spoken to groups over 80. And so going forward, I just want to keep sharing, and I want to keep growing my newfound friends.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
Well, through this media, and you're going to be on Chicago radio, and if Sheila, who's way in the back there, producer, director, owner, founder, all-around star, if she will just, and this is illegal what I'm about to do, but I can't remember the colors of the radio station, so shout it out for me.
WCPT.
What did she say?
WCPT.
Absolutely correct. And you're going to be on that.
And I'm so excited. I feel so privileged
Yeah.
and excited. I feel honored doing these things,
Yeah.
that I'm being asked to do them. And the organizations say, oh, no, we're so happy you're doing it. I'm like, no, we can
Yeah.
go back and forth,
Yeah,
but it's
that's
so
great.
great.
Well, we thank Sheila for arranging that. That will be November 17th, by the way. That's a Sunday, and be aware of that. So, coming up, now some of you will be there, some of you will be watching this after that date, and we want you to be aware of this organization. Okay, you might miss this particular year's event, but you can know that on the calendar, it's every single year. This is not the first year for this event.
No, it's not.
So, it's just the two of us here.
Yes.
Tell me all about that event and that you're going to be participating in it this year. When is it? Where's it going to be? And are there other speakers besides you as well?
You know what? Those are wonderful questions, and I wish I had answers for all of them. But it is the Will County Take Back the Night.
No.
That is October 24th this upcoming, or a week from Thursday. And I know I'm the keynote speaker. I am not aware of any other speakers.
Okay.
And they have resource tables beforehand, and then I'll share Mitchell's story. There'll be a rally and a march afterwards.
Great. And you'll have a table there too.
Yes,
if you
I
don't
will.
arrange to have one.
Yes,
certainly.
I
Yeah.
will have a table
Yeah.
there.
Well, I think, do you know how many years that's been going on? That event?
Unfortunately, I do not.
It's been a long time. It's been out there a long
I
time.
don't know.
This is
Let's
not
see.
something new. If they've got any information, they probably don't. Probably just have
Nope, they don't have it on
be sure
there.
that it's coming up. So I want to thank you. Very gracious for you to show up here at this early hour of the morning. We are both early risers. Some of these people back here, you know, they're kind of the Hollywood types, you know, in Joliet. This studio, by the way, is in Joliet, and it is the Road to Eternity. Great organization, fantastic organization, kind of a family organization. And they have been responsible for so many of these wonderful events, partnering with the Schusters and Channel 6, which is free for you and for YouTube. You just go on there and scroll and you'll find that as well. Take some time for the show get on, but it will be next week or the week after, and you'll be able to watch it. And then you'll also be able to listen to the radio station as well. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget, spread the word. It's Mitchell's story, and it's her mission. You can join that mission. I'm Richard Fredrickson, and watch us next time right here on Channel 6, and who knows, maybe YouTube. Take care.